Hello friends, and welcome to the video. So let's talk about quantum mysticism. Now this is the idea that when spiritual people talk about quantum mechanics, to justify that their spiritual beliefs are correct. First of all, this video is going to be about how we don't need it, because you don't need any theories to prove that you are here, okay? That's the basic idea of the video. You can turn it off now. This comes about because there was somebody put a comment in one of my recent videos where it was a very long comment, and they went into quite a lot of depth about different types of Buddhism and how they are the same as different types of Advaita Vedanta. And at the end, they said that Brahman is the quantum vacuum, and that's the icing on the cake. Now, in the past, I also felt that I needed science to prove my belief, because science is what we need to prove things. We all know that. If it's not scientific, it's not true. But when you get into this a bit deeper, you really start seeing that no, nothing needs to prove this. Nothing at all. It weakens your argument, and I talk about this stuff, and I'm on the side of the commenter, not in the Brahman is the quantum vacuum, but trying to say that this stuff is true. But you don't need physics. If you have a good understanding of Advaita Vedanta, you know that we cannot objectify Brahman. As soon as you objectify the witness, it becomes the object. As soon as you objectify the subject, it becomes an object and a concept on top of that, not even like an apple that you can see. When we start getting into Advaita Vedanta or non-duality, and say, for example, with the videos of Rupert Spira, they're really fantastic. And so his early meditation videos would begin, feel yourself as the open awareness in which everything arises. And this is a teaching tool. He doesn't really mean that you make yourself into this thing, this concept, but he is getting you to notice something. It's a pointer. And this pointer was fantastic for me. I got some insights. I'll give you some examples. I was really into exploring the present moment, what's here. I was really actually amazed that I wasn't this concept that I was moving about in the world. This was actually here, and this was more real than any future, any past that we could think about. And I went to bed one night after a day of thinking a lot about this, and I closed my eyes, and despite the fact that it was all black, or possibly because of the fact it was all black, I suddenly was aware of my awareness. I was suddenly realized that I was just as aware as with my eyes open, and even more so. This awareness was luminous and crystal clear. It was just as I'd heard people talk about the luminous light of the void. It was empty and pure and pristine and untouchable. And I thought, wow, this is it. Another time, I was actually annoyed at somebody. One day I was, with somebody. It was annoying me. And the next day I just noticed awareness being pure and pristine, and it hadn't been touched. I realized that there was no way that there was impression on me, what I really was. Possibly on memories and on the mind, but there was nothing on me. A space had opened out between the mind and the awareness. The awareness was always untouched by anything, and always pure and again, luminous is the best word. So because we begin and we get these insights, we start saying that, yes, Brahman is real, Buddhism is wrong, clearly there is something here. Well, it's here, isn't it? But what we're doing, and I'm not saying this is what happened, I do think that this realization of awareness is just realizing that you're aware. This is turning it into an object. And Rupert Spira used to talk a lot about be aware of being aware. And he stopped saying that so much, I think, because of this reason, because it pushes people into misunderstanding of this awareness that's here. And as we go into it deeper, we see that the eternal subject cannot be objectified in any way. There's no way that you can objectify it. Teeth can't bite themselves. Scissors can't cut themselves. And any concept you have of of Brahman, of what you really are, is an object. And this is why Buddhists and Buddhism has a problem with Advaita Vedanta, because it does sound like that's what we're doing. There is an eternal, there's ultimate reality. There is an ultimate reality. It's here. It's a thing. But that's a misunderstanding, and it's a misunderstanding that's shared by people interested in non-duality and people interested in Advaita Vedanta as well. And so when you say that that Brahman is the quantum vacuum, you have objectified it. This is incorrect. It's not the quantum vacuum. That's the first reason it's not the quantum vacuum. The second reason is that the quantum vacuum obeys the laws of physics. And I'm not going to go into whether the laws of physics arise out of the quantum vacuum, but I heard somebody say that there may be the laws of physics may be to some degree dependent on the situation. So it's a bit like a chess game. There are rules in the chess game, and later on in the game, the positions and the movements that you can take depend on the position of the board. So it depends on the state. And quantum vacuum is a state. It's a neutral state. But still, it depends on the rules. And if you're saying that Brahman is the quantum vacuum, you're basically saying that Brahman is subject to the rules of physics, and that is completely wrong, because the rules of physics are concepts that we made up, very good concepts to describe the arising in awareness, to describe what is happening and to make predictions, but they don't control Brahman. You are the thing which knows, that which knows the laws of physics. You are prior to the laws of physics. Even the human mind is prior to the laws of physics because it made them up. It's a human invention, a very good description of the relative transactional reality. And it works, it's great. It keeps getting better. And that's the next reason. It keeps getting better and it keeps changing. And science is perfectly fine about letting old ideas go, saying that Newtonian physics works in this kind of situation, but maybe not in all situations. And as they found out, Lord Kelvin said in the 19th century, physics is dead. It's not really dead, but there's no point going into it now. There's just tiny little adjustments, decimal points and things like that. He actually did predict what would happen in the 20th century. He said there are two clouds on the horizon, and that's all. And those little clouds turned out to be Einstein's relativity and quantum mechanics, quantum physics, that completely changed our understanding of science. And we saw that quantum Newtonian physics was applicable in certain situations, and quantum mechanics in others, and general relativity in others. So we science is okay about letting things go, but if you tie your belief to science, then you will be outdated at some point. You will sound outdated. And I'll give you an example of this. I really like David Bohm, and you can find his dialogues on YouTube, where he has these seminars where he talks to people very openly, and they're not physicists, so and it's not the ones with Jiddu Krishnamurti, but they're just kind of normal-ish people. And he talks at one point about I think it's called the triune brain, this idea that the brain is made up of the reptilian brain, and it's covered by the mammalian brain, and then that's covered by the human brain. And because he's interested in thought and how thought works, one brain limits another brain, and there's certain impulses of one brain affect the other brain when it doesn't have the information. It's really interesting, but this idea is no longer held by neuroscience. This has been superseded, or it's seen as a simplistic model that is not really taken seriously now. And it dates what he's talking about. And if you do the same, you tie it to physics, then you date what your message is, and it weakens your argument that you wanted to make in the first place, that what you're talking about is true, but you don't need any external thing to prove that you are true. They say truth itself, a translation of Sat Chitananda, Sat, existence, is also truth. It's truth because this is what is. It's not truth like right and wrong or correct and incorrect. It's the truth of that this is what is, and nothing can disprove this. You do not need any scientific theory. And using quantum physics or using any scientific theory that will come up in the future will just weaken your argument. They'll challenge you and say, oh, you don't know about quantum physics, you make it all up. And quantum mysticism is that term for when people do that. It weakens your argument, and stick to the real understanding, this thing that can never be doubted, the fact that you are. So, I hope that was interesting. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.